I come from the stars. How about you? Many times we state effortlessly, I come from the stars, and that's where I feel that my home is. However, what does that mean? Is it essential to know our origin to live a more fulfilling life? My personal opinion on such matters is yes. We really need to know the meaning of that and to think of a plan that can put an order in our life. Of course, it is not harmful to change this plan during our life when the data are also changed. On the contrary, reforming our own plan is the only necessary condition to stay alive in the game of life and to continue alive in the journey that follows. The last thing we need to do is enter into an endless discussion trying to excuse the non-excusable. In the course of those posts, I will refer to more or less established concepts that human society has adopted, but I do not accept that in the majority they all have a definite prospect. The Christian religion is useful in some ways, but Adam and Eve are not enough for me to accept that my origin as a human being was at some point in their hands. The answer for an alien origin is much more fun because the simple question that even a child is going to ask is, so how did it happen there? On the other hand, to transfer our origin in another dimension, higher than this, closer to God, is not clear enough for me. I feel as if someone had put on the most upper shelf of a library the book of our origin, just so that I cannot reach it. And the fundamental problem with this prospect is that I cannot understand the multiplicity of the dimensions. I can comprehend the operation of a world of two dimensions only as a theory or as a mathematical proof, and that to accept the idea of another much more complicated approach to what is happening. A one-dimensional world is even tougher to understand. Then, if I try to rise to higher dimensions, the concept becomes tragically incomprehensible. When I ask the one is in favor of this theory to describe these dimensions, they use the model of a block of flats. On the upper floor, the wealthy residents, and on the ground floor, the poor ones. Someone might use it as an excuse for all these that we must somehow describe the divinity. To that I ask with naivety, if we place God as a resident on some dimension, isn't that a restriction? Aren't we automatically accepting the existence of another higher dimension that will have, as a result, to overthrow the divinity of the divine? The meaning of God, at least for me, has nothing to do with Olympian entities, nor with other cosmological powers that reside in the etheric field of whatever interstellar system. God, or more accurate, divinity, constitutes the absolute one, or better, the absolute neither one, since even the one ought to be somewhere. So, the neither one is the highest philosophical status of the beginning, the point from which, at least myself, can start discussing the origin of the universe and of the human being as part of this entity. And this is the point in our research where the fiction approach enters like a fairy tale, simply because the first possible steps of the creation can be approached only as a fairy tale. Unfortunately, this is the time that, together with the cheese, stands the mousetrap. Instead of keeping a general approach and deny small details, we prefer to adopt a full fairy tale analysis capable of giving answers even to all the troubles of our personal life. We need a fairy tale to memorize so that when we talk with others to refer parts or buzzwords from it as absolute truths. But the essence of a fairy tale lies precisely in its foggy environment and not in its crystal clear views. We need to focus on the essence of this tale, not its details. Snow White is not the little girl which was cast away by its evil stepmother. Something else is hiding behind, and this is what we must always look for. So what does the fairy tale of the beginning tell us? It tells us that on another level of existence, the firstborns undertake the obligation to put order to the level we could refer to as the level of the essence. The name of the level of origin is that of hyperessence, coming from the Greek word hyper, which means over, higher, and essence. The level that stands above the level of substance. The creation as we know it is just a part of the level of the substance. The essence is somehow the chaos of Hesiod, to use the most known expression. And what did the firstborns do? They planted in the essence the determinism, the laws. They did nothing else. So the essence level was forced to start working, accepting the laws of the hyperessence level and transforming them into laws of its level. By doing so, began the process that would allow the step-by-step completion of the tasks of the firstborns. The target is one and only one, the level of the essence to behave according to the determination of the hyperessence level. So, someday in the future, to mirror in an absolute way the level of the beginning. All other steps were results of this unique act of creation. A small example is the law of gravity. This law acted for the creation of the celestial bodies from the astral dust or from the primary elements. It is the same law from that point forward that leads to the creation of cosmos as we know it, of the minerals and the plants, even of the animals. Creation is not an experiment that someone put in action after trying it in his lab. The experiments end up in the formation of a prototype, from which the reproduction begins. That's not how it works with creation. Creation is a conception that was left alone to carry on and format the multiplicity of the results directly. The processes that were adopted afterward were internal cases of the determination of the first idea. That which the firstborns were after was that the created laws and the procedures that were originated from them to reach such a degree of evolution, so consciousness, which would be born by that procedure, to be capable of accepting the hyperessence power as one additional function. When that is done, wherever it is done, and with whatever form it takes, a construction is created that bears the name of human being. As a construction, it is the product of essence that can apprehend the hyperessence's truth. In the metaphysics vocabulary, we say that this creature hides within him the divine sparkle, and this human being is a perfect creation of the laws of essence, and it is the one that will establish the application of the full determination gradually to the level of essence.